Here's the podcast script. The New York Times is reporting that Mexican officials have become informants for the Trump administration, and it's creating a major crack inside Mexico's ruling party. Here's what we know. As the Trump administration has ramped up investigations into Mexico's government, at least a dozen elected officials from Mexico's governing party, Morena, have quietly reached out to U.S. authorities offering to share information about their own colleagues. We're talking governors, members of Congress, people at the heart of Mexico's political establishment. Multiple people with knowledge of these conversations told the Times this is already happening, and several of those officials have moved beyond initial contact into actual talks with the U.S. government. So what set this off? Two things, really. First, back in April, the United States indicted 10 current and former Mexican officials, charging them with colluding with one of Mexico's most powerful drug cartels. That sent a shockwave through Mexico's political class. Second, the Drug Enforcement Administration quietly launched its own outreach effort, privately contacting Mexican officials to try to persuade them to cooperate. And it appears to be working. A lot of these politicians aren't acting out of civic duty. Many of them, according to the Times sources, are trying to get ahead of investigations they fear could soon be pointed directly at them. As one Mexican political analyst put it, and this is a striking quote, some people within the system, instead of standing with the president, are rushing to the United States to save their own skin. And that's the core tension here. Because Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has made resisting these U.S. investigations one of the defining battles of her presidency. She's called the indictments foreign interference. She refused a U.S. demand to arrest the governor of Sinaloa State, a Morena governor who was charged with protecting his state's cartel in exchange for help winning an election. In a speech last month, she asked directly, is Washington really fighting organized crime, or is the American far right using Mexico to score points before the 2026 midterms? We are no longer talking about cooperation, she said. We are talking about interference. But while she's holding that line publicly, her own party members are privately doing the opposite. And that's a serious problem. Because if enough Morena politicians start feeding information to U.S. investigators, it could trigger a cascade, more cooperating witnesses, more indictments, and real damage to a party that is, as the Times points out, the last major leftist governing party in Latin America outside of Brazil. The informants add to what U.S. authorities are already working with. 2 of the 10 indicted officials are already in U.S. custody. El Chapo's sons, who pleaded guilty to drug charges last year, have been providing information. And over the past 18 months, Mexico has sent 92 cartel operatives to the U.S., several of whom have started talking, including top lieutenants, a senior pilot, and a top advisor to El Chapo's sons. One major focus of those interrogations, exactly how the cartels corrupted Mexican politicians. A former DEA acting administrator told the Times flatly, I'm very confident there will be some high-level indictments coming. Now, to be fair, the broader U.S.-Mexico relationship isn't in total freefall. Sheinbaum has increased military presence at the border, expanded security cooperation, and her government recently oversaw the killing of El Mencho, Mexico's top drug kingpin. Homicides in Mexico dropped 63% from January through May compared to the same period 2 years ago. But going after politicians is a different animal entirely. Sheinbaum is caught between 2 immovable forces, Trump, who holds enormous leverage over Mexico's economy and has threatened military action on Mexican soil, and the left wing of her own party, which is demanding she stand her ground. Her cabinet is reportedly split between pragmatists who want more cooperation with Washington and hardliners who say the U.S. is setting a dangerous precedent by prosecuting a sitting Mexican governor. The cooperation she's calling for from above, it seems, is simply not being matched from below. That's the story, and as U.S. investigators build what could be one of the most significant corruption cases in the history of the U.S.-Mexico relationship, we'll be watching to see how many more officials decide their best move is to talk.